Hi everybody, Pat Huntoon here with Technique Junkies, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make that cool leopard skin hat card that you saw in the beginning of this tutorial. What we're starting with is the Colorful Life Design Side Hat Stencil, and I'm using Deco Foil Transfer Gel Duo and a piece of black cardstock. Now, normally when you use Transfer Gel Duo and foil, and when I say foil, we're not going to be using a laminator. We are going to be using a Big Shot just to press it down. Normally, I would not tell you to use pixie spray on the back of this, but I am going to have you use pixie spray. The reason we don't usually use pixie spray is that foil will stick to pixie spray if there's some residue left on the paper, which is true, but I figured out what to do with that too, so bear with me with that. So I had some on the back of this. I really just wanted to add a little bit more right here because that is a critical portion of this piece. My cardstock is cut down to 5.5 by 4 1/4, so it is an A2 size cardstock piece. I'm going to place it on there. When we do this Deco Foil Transfer Gel Duo on very large surfaces like this, it is critical, and I cannot express this enough, that you do not see any black showing through, because if you see black showing through, that's not going to foil. So you need to put this on thick. Usually I'll tell people to use a minimum of supplies. This time I say thick. Okay, so I'm going to put some here, and before I do that, I am going to actually cover up her lips and her body just with a piece of tape. You don't have to do this if you think you can be neat, but the way I'm working on this, I haven't been very neat just because I've been doing it so much. So I'm cut her neck here. And then I'm actually going to be putting Transfer Gel Duo on her hat and on her arm. So I'm going to put a big blob of this on here. So I'm putting a big blob on, and then I'm turning my palette knife so it's face down. And then I'm doing the softest of touches. I'm not actually touching the cardstock ever. I'm just touching the Transfer Gel Duo. You do not want any black. I'm having trouble with that corner there. Any black showing through your cardstock at all. You want this to be fully covered with Transfer Gel Duo. See, I'm using really big chunks of this because if you have that, you see that scrape there? That foil is not going to hold on to that. And then you will have a big mark that you're going to have to cover up with the feathers or whatever else, or you're going to be very unhappy that you've let this sit for an hour and a half and gotten these foiling, non-foiled areas. So I'm putting on a chunk of this, a whole bunch of this. If you're doing something that's a smaller design, it is far easier to use this Gel Duo, but it is stunning on big designs. It's just stunning. So we're going to cover that up. Make sure it's covered all the way. You shouldn't see any cardstock. I'll get that corner up there. I'm probably going to cut that off, so I'm not going to stress about that too much. And then let me get this bottom portion, big chunk on the bottom. I can tell you right now that overworking this, going over at the same spot over and over again, starts to lift the Gel Duo off the piece instead of putting it on. So there's a fine line between putting it on and taking it off. And when I tell you that I am using the softest of touches, I'm not even really touching the stencil. I am only touching that Gel Duo. And very, very, see how I got the tip on there? It can be frustrating. So you just want to make sure you get it covered all the way. And don't do what I'm doing. No, just if you have to put more on there, it's okay to have it look uneven as long as you get coverage. You want coverage. Okay, so you notice I did this on black. If you do this on white and you get parts that you do not cover, you are going to see the white through it. If you do this on black and you have parts that you don't cover, you're going to see a little black through it. This is a black and copper foil. Trust me when I tell you, a little bit of black showing through is far better than a little bit of white showing through. And I will show you what I did with it to try to fix it. So we're just going to peel this right off. Okay, so because I used the pixie spray, there is a very defined line along her hat. So we are going to set this aside to dry. Look what I did there. I chunked some of that off. We're going to set this aside to dry. We're probably going to let it dry for 2 hours and come back to it. Before I go away, while it's drying, you can wipe that off with a baby wipe, soap and water. I like to put a little Simply Amazing on top of that and just use a cloth to get the excess off, or a paper towel. It does come off pretty quickly. Just make sure that you wipe it all the way so it's not sticky, and you can use it almost right away again. If you are making several of these at once, which I actually recommend, because why get all this out and not make several, make sure you wipe down the back of the stencil and dry it before you do it, so that if any is on the back, if any is on the back, you are not transferring it over. Okay, so we're back. A day has passed, and my side hat girl has dried. It took a good day. I put a lot on there. So all I'm going to do is cut a piece of leopard foil. I'm going to do a little overkill here for the camera. So I'm going to cut a piece of leopard skin foil, and I'm going to be cutting a piece of, I'm just cutting a small little piece of red foil here, and I'm going to be putting this through my Big Shot. Remember that this is a way to use foil without heat, so I'm just going to stick this through my Big Shot. When you put it through the Big Shot, you want to make sure that your top piece does not have any cuts in it, because if it has cuts in it, you will see it on the cardstock. And I am going to put another piece on top. Just run this through, make sure you see how easy this is. Whatever emboss or die cut machine you have will work with this. And let's pull this out. Now I'm just going to burnish this with my fingertips. Good and burnished. The same with the red. Get it burnished down there. And then peel that off. Isn't that cute, that hat? I don't know if you can see that well. That hat is so adorably cute. Now I'm just going to put this back over the top. And then I am going to use glitter markers on mine. So I'm going to use an orangish color for her lips. And I'm going to use silver for her body. You can use whatever markers or pencils or whatever you think will show up the best on that. Take that off. Oh, isn't that cute? It's coming along. And then I have a few extra little embellishments here to make her look even better. I have these pretty little feathers, and there's gold on them. And I have some gold and black little embellishments here. And this is actually obviously too big, so I'm actually going to cut that feather down. So I cut that feather down, and let's add a white feather too. So both of these feather types have some gold on them. Some of them have glitter on the top, some don't. And let's add a glittery one to this one. So we have 2 feathers in the glitter. So I've made a hot mess out of that glue, but we're going to let that glue dry. And then I'm going to add a stamped sentiment to this. So while the glue is drying, I am going to be putting this down on here on red. And I've stamped the Endlessly Create Yourself in gold on a little piece of black, and I'm also going to pop that up on that piece. So let me get a little piece and we'll get that mounted. And we'll mount this on here, but I think because the glue is still drying, I'm going to put the glue on this side. So there you go. Endlessly Create Yourself. It is very shimmery and it's got the leopard foil on there, and it is drying still. So that's going to take just a few more minutes to dry that glue, and you saw it in the beginning. So I just quickly wanted to show you what this piece looks like when it's on white. Let me give you a few tips about it too. I used quite a bit of transfer gel duo, and I let it sit overnight. And areas that didn't fill in, you can see just a couple here and there. They're really not that noticeable, not as noticeable as I thought they were. I filled them in. Some of them I filled in with a Sharpie. Some of them I filled in with a black Copic marker. They worked exactly the same, and that's how I got that to work. So it did work on white. It is a little easier to work on black. It's just a matter of preference. I can tell, I'm going to finish this off with the feathers and the gems. One thing I can tell you is that you have to be very patient. You have to let the Transfer Gel Duo dry, and you have to put it on quite thick, because anywhere you don't have Transfer Gel Duo, the foil is not going to adhere to it, no matter what you do. So you have to have Transfer Gel Duo on very thick. You have to be patient and let it dry. And if you get spots after you lift up like the red, if you have a spot, you can take the foil and burnish it back on there. Just put the foil back on and burnish it. With this one, I just used a distressed marker for her lips and a distress marker for her body, and I added the Endlessly Create Yourself. So that is our tutorial today. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make these side hat cards. And if you did, give us a thumbs up on YouTube and consider subscribing to the Technique Junkie YouTube channel. And I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.